Hi ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Genshin Impact. Today we're going to be breaking down and talking about how you get into Genshin in 2021. The progression loop, the damage and how you attain it, the things you should do in the beginning, and if you are going to spend money, where you should spend it. Answering every and any of these questions, so forgive me for this being probably a longer video. I digress. The reason why we're doing this is because a lot of people in our community are actually jumping on and starting Genshin, and I've gotten a couple of questions when we're streaming about how you should go about certain things. So let's go over the foundational things you should do first, how you progress, how you evolve, what you should do to gain power, and then ultimately what are some just bonus things to take on your journey of getting into Genshin. Okay. Alright my friends, well the most important thing to know about Genshin is that Genshin is a marathon and not like a short sprint. What I mean by that is the game is gated heavily by a lot of things. It's at the backdrop, if you don't know this, it's a mobile game. And it has things like energy, which you can only spend so much energy in the day, so that it keeps you coming back and all that stuff, but I digress. This, right here, my friends, is the gateway into content within Genshin. Now, I have some good news for you and some less good news. Let's start with the less good news. This is a pretty slow process at a certain point, but if you're just getting into the game, adventure rank, gaining it is going to be pretty easy because you gain adventure rank from these couple things. First thing being, the most easy thing to attain adventure rank through is quests. You guys can see right there that little AER thing. We get 375 adventure rank for completing the story quests and this story quest, and there's varying degrees of gain. But you also get it from completing, I don't know, side quests and more side quests and all of these other things. So that is the good news. If you were just getting into Genshin when it was just coming out, there wasn't a lot of side quests, but with every 1.1 or whatever patch, they've released more and more side quests that can give you more and more adventure rank, letting you kind of supercharge your progression if you just want to grind out these quests and get them done, which they're fairly easy. Not only that, but a lot of them also give you primo gems. We'll talk about that in a minute, but right now we're just talking about the progression and how you should go about progressing within Genshin, because it doesn't really tell you and it's kind of all over the place, and it's better to do things certain ways to be optimal, so to speak. But yes, that's way number one. The only thing that sucks about this way is that it's going to go away eventually. When you're done doing the quests, you no longer have an abundance of this AR or adventure rank. So what you are going to need to do is try to get to AR 12 as soon as humanly possible. Now, what I mean by that is, okay, so again, like I said, adventure rank is very much the gateway to get to certain content, but it is gated behind those gates. So, again, if you get various things for completing all of these. You get wishes, you get primo gems. Those are all important. We'll talk about them later. And yeah, you get all of this currency money. That's awesome. So you're going to need to level up your AR pretty consistently. Now, again, certain things are unlocked when you get to certain AR levels. One of the most important ones that you can possibly get is AR 12, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, I'll correct myself in editing right now.
You know, that's right, that's right.
I probably was right. Maybe. Anyways, regardless, okay, so first of all, the reason why you wanted to get to AR 12 is because when you get to AR 12, something is going to become unlocked called daily commissions. Now, daily commissions is this thing right here. This is your adventure book. You'll have that. You can go ahead and do all these if you want. It's another way of progressing and getting good stuff, and getting also AR by just doing this checklist of things. If you want to do that, that's another route that you can go through of getting AR, not outside of quests, although they're kind of just like passive objectives regardless. This is your daily commissions. Why is this so important, Grin? Well, it's because this is your consistent, pretty massive amount of AR every single day. Not only that, but it also gives you primo gems. Not a lot of them, but if you do them every single day, it compounds in you having a pretty decent amount of wishes at the end of a week or something like that. So, yeah, and again, Genshin is meant to be played as a marathon. It is not meant to it's not asking you to like give every single thing you have in 4 hours. It's asking you to give 10 minutes every single day over the course of, every day. And if you do that, you'll be able to not only supercharge your progression, but also this is a game that's kind of meant to be played in the background. Again, it's like a mobile game. That's this kind of, unfortunately, limiting factor. But yes, the reason why you want to get to AR 12 as soon as humanly possible is because it gives you access to daily commissions, which gives you access to primo gems, so you can start building that and being efficient. It also gives you access to some money and stuff like that from completing all of them. By the way, there are 5, not 4 daily commissions. There are 4 daily commissions that you need to complete, but then you need to go back to the adventure rank lady, this person, and actually cash them in. I already did that for the day, but you would claim your daily things, and that would give you a ton more primo gems and etc. Don't forget to do that. Don't just do your daily commissions and then be done with it. You have to come back and hand them all in, and that gives you all the bells and whistles. Now, that is a little bit to do. Now, I'm assuming you're playing this game, you're probably going to fall in love with it because it's very, very charming, and you're probably going to want to play the game more. So, this is the next part of your journey. So, first of all, do as many side quests, as many main quests as that you need to do in order to get access to, of course, AR 12, so that you can start doing your daily commissions every day, so you can stop lagging behind, and you can start not, like, losing progression, okay? Then, you're in a state of abundance right now. You have a lot to do, but the things that matter for you to do is constantly, ever so slightly, keep chipping away at your AR rank. How you can do this is the third way of attaining AR, which is what everybody inevitably has to do, and that is opening up chests. So in the world of Tevat, etc., there is a bunch of chests scattered all around the world. Homunculuses can lead you to them and unlock them, and etc. Every time you unlock them, you get a measly 15 AR rank. Now, yes, you guys just, or it's like, I think it's like 50. It's just a really low amount of AR. But there are millions of chests in the world, and every single time you increase your world level, you unlock more chests throughout the world. So you may like clean up an area, but then you level up the world tier 3 times, and then you're like, oh my god, this area is filled with them again, and go there. Now, there is a method to this madness. One of the things you're probably noticing is that your main character has the stamina of a crippled old man. So, you're going to want to increase that. Now, how you do that is basically by getting on a, homunculuses? I can't read it. Basically, I can't. I can't. Basically, they're this cool rock floating around. You basically run at it, collect it, you'll go to your shrine and give him this currency, and it will increase your stamina. Now, this is something that everybody should do immediately. Well, not immediately, but this is something that you should do before you start collecting all of them. In the description of every single video we make on Genshin, there is a map, and it's made by the developers, so it is absolutely massive. It's the best it can kind of be. Or it's in the description right now. Click it, save it to your browser, save it on your phone, save it on your iPad, whatever you can do, save it. The reason why is because what you are going to now do is you're going to scroll down until you find this right here. There are 65 things in total, and in order to max up your stamina, you're going to need all 65. So, all 65 of this and all of the Geoculus as well, which there's a lot more Geoculuses. Regardless, you can get by with the Animoculuses pretty well. Regardless, the reason why it's so important to do this properly is because if you miss one, you're going to have to level up city reputation or to find a special gadget that can lead you back to it. It's so much better just to be careful now so that you're not having to suffer later. So, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the Genshin map, you're going to zoom in, because sometimes it will say stuff like there are 3 here, yeah, like there's 4 here, so if you zoom in, it will put 4 on the map. Regardless, you are going to go and find each place on your map and put down a marker. Unfortunately, I don't have any, but I would suggest having the thing on one monitor or on your phone, and then in the game, mark all of them, and then whenever you go to collect one, demark it. Take it away. That way it's gone. That way you're not having to play this messy game of being like, oh no, I'm one off, and you have no idea where that one is. So then you're going to go back and get every 65 or 130 when you go to the Geoculuses? No. Now, why are we doing this? What if I can only get a couple GRINN? I only want a couple little bit more stamina. It's fine. I'll put up with it. The reason why that's valuable to go around the map and you're bouncing all over the place is because it's forcing you to explore and see chests. So, this will give you AR. On your journey of getting homunculuses bouncing around the world, hitting checkpoints and etc., you are going to be collecting chests, and you're going to be getting AR that way. So that is the 3 ways in which I would highly advise you progress. And also, your stamina is so huge. It allows you to traverse the world longer, further, etc. Also, it is the most aggravating that even at max stamina, you still don't have an abundance. It still goes down pretty damn fast. I have everything, It's 210 or something. Regardless, yes, chip away at that ever so slightly. Again, you're going to have an abundance of time. So that is how you level up, and that's, again, AR is centered around everything. That's how you get access to certain patches, and again, AR is massive. AR is tied to your access to the game, your access to certain events that can give you primo gems, that can give you an access to a character that can give you power. And speaking of power, let's talk about that. Outside of everything else, by the way, in terms of progression, that is the biggest pillar that connects everything is your AR rank, and something that you always should be making effort in. And again, you can kind of get by, especially now the Genshin has been around for a good bit of time now. There is a ton of side quests, so you can probably super jump all the way to level 30, 31 or something like that by doing all the side quests, by doing all the quests, and all that stuff. But you will get to a point where you no longer have any side quests to do, and then again, what you'll have to lean on is chests and your daily commissions. But I will say, if you're into the marathon, not a sprint mentality, then you can just do your daily commissions every single day and get to AR 45 in no time. Now there are some like pillars to progression in Genshin. One of them is AR 12. So you can start doing your daily commissions, so you can start having a consistent gain of primo gems, which, by the way, you can easily get to AR 12, like incredibly easily, especially with just the access of side quests that you have. Also, certain side quests become available as you progress your AR rank and your world tier. So the map that I just linked you guys, you can go ahead and find all of the world quests, which are the side quests for Genshin. They can take you and get you AR and get you primo gems, money, etc. But sometimes you may go there and there may not be a quest there, and yeah, you'll just have to be like, okay, eventually it'll be here and I can come back. Regardless, the next pillar for you to get to, I believe, at least the one that I think matters the most, is AR 45, not 40. We're going to talk about a power, essentially, and how you can stop being a bitch and not getting, like, actually dealing damage and feeling good about it and getting characters and what you should be looking for in a hot minute. But you get complete access to everything when you get to AR 45 because it allows you to farm for the highest possible tier of rarity of artifacts, and that initiates you into the true end game. So to get to AR 45 as soon as possible is what you're kind of going to be aiming at. But again, AR 12, huge. AR 16, I believe, is when you get access to multiplayer, which is kind of gimmicky and not as useful as you may think, but it can be helpful if you want to have your friends pull you through encounters and help you kill bosses if you're getting super unlucky with artifacts. Okay, almost missed one crucially important thing when it comes to progression. Okay, let's talk about the big bad wolf that is resin, which is this right here. This is resin. This is your energy bar for Genshin Impact. It's one of the things that the community has the biggest frustration for, because you're not actually able to play the game a lot with your allotted coins. Think of Genshin as like, you know, an arcade, and you're only allowed a certain amount of tickets to participate in a certain amount of things, so you're going to want to put those tickets in the most efficient places that you can in order to progress and be efficient. I believe it's every 8 minutes you gain 1 resin. Long story short, a good rule of thumb is never, ever let the clock, the resin, get to 160. Never. The reason why is because when it's at 160, you're losing progression. You're losing resin. You're losing effort, time, etc. So don't do that. Try to avoid that as best you can. So when you're just starting out the game, though, there's not a lot of things that you can spend resin on that is meaningful and actually impactful. But what you can do is spend resin on things like these kind of little what we call ley lenses. The reason why is because you're always going to need experience books. You're always going to need Mora, and eventually in the future you're going to want to specifically start farming domains that give you artifacts. Artifacts, think of them as like boosts with varying different effects that we'll get into when we're talking about power. But I would highly advise any new game player, invest in experience books because you're going to need them eventually. Invest in money because you're going to need them eventually. Also, when you're just starting out the game, the best thing you can do is be at the right level of the thing that you're fighting. Now, yes, you can go into specifics and leveling up your weapon, but that's only if you're starting to have problems with damage. So anyways, burn your resin on these ley lens when you're just starting out. Never let your resin get to 160. Always make sure it's gone and burnt. Another thing that you can do is condense the resin. We'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about power. So now we're going to be getting into like, okay, now you're progressing through the game, you're doing the story quests, you're letting that take you everywhere in the map, you're jumping around doing side quests, you're getting your animoculuses and taking them and demarking them every single time you take it, you're also bouncing around and getting chests, and also you're doing your daily commissions. Cool. Now, you're starting to get to the point where you can't actually deal that much damage. So again, your progression is tied to your world tier. So you won't be able to level up your character to level 90 when you've just started the game. You'll only be able to level it up to a certain point because you're going to need to increase your world tier. How do you increase your world tier? By increasing your adventure rank. And then you have these special missions that you basically go and just do that are glorified, like, can you deal enough damage and not get one hit? You can? Okay, you can progress. But otherwise, don't go in there. It's death and misery. Don't do that. So let's go over how you attain damage, power, and facilitate a way of playing. First of all, you should look at your character's abilities, understand what they do, and what kind of benefits they can give you, and all that kind of stuff. All right, so let's talk about the easiest access thing to power in Genshin. Now, you are going to have your starter characters, by the way, which are not bad. Lisa is okay. Kaya is actually amazing if you get the right artifact set for him. Amber isn't the greatest, but again, until you get to a certain level in Genshin, you can actually progress really easily, so you're kind of okay if you're sitting in that weird boat. And then you have the Animo Traveler, which again, it's kind of okay, just fine. Anyways, so on your pursuit to level up your desired character, whether it be Kaya, I would highly advise it kind of being Kaya. The reason why is because Kaya can be a main DPS. So this is a little spoiler for getting into endgame and etc. But typically how Genshin works is you have a single damage dealer where you put all of your resources in. This is especially how it works if you happen to not want to spend an abundance of money in the game, then you're going to need to invest all of your power into one character, which is going to be the character that deals damage, so the thing that can kill things. And then, all of your other characters, you can kind of just spread them out evenly because they're supposed to support you. They're supposed to kind of help you, but not get you all the way there. But again, until you start getting into like the higher world tiers, you can kind of get by with just throwing some artifacts and throwing a weapon on your character and kind of managing. And making sure you're cycling through your characters, using their E, cycle to the next character, use their E, cycle to the next character, use their E. You can get by for a lot of the game just with that. So on your pursuit to level up a character, say it's this, you're going to eventually get to the Ascension Materials. Now again, if you're not the right world tier, you're not going to be able to ascend them any higher until you, again, gain enough adventure rank. But inevitably when you do, you're going to have all of these things that you're going to need to get. Now Genshin has this lovely thing built in that tells you what the heck that is. So this, we can see that, okay, this material is dropped by every and any Healy Churl. Fantastic. This is a special flower that's located on these places in the map. Again, use the Genshin browser extension window that can, it's like the Genshin map, like the actual map that has all of the icons and everything on it. Use that to find out where these are, get a bunch of them, and level up your character. And then this is usually dropped by a boss. Now, usually that's what you'll be able to see. Yeah, so you'll see that this, like now, this person requires this special shard. This is dropped by the Pyro Regisvine. Again, you can go on the Genshin world map browser and find where that creature is, and then just go there, kill it, and spend your resin on this. Now, unfortunately, killing bosses and damn near everything in Genshin does require resin, which is supposed to kind of force you to take your damn time when progressing, unfortunately. I know a lot of us just want to go, full send it, but we can't because, you know, yeah. Well, you can if you're willing to spend money. We'll talk about the economy of you being hopefully a light spender and the efficiencies that you can get by with. But nevertheless, that is something that just leveling up your character can give immediate gain, but again, you're going to hit a ceiling at some points, and maybe you're not killing things fast enough. So one of the things that you're going to want to do, especially when you're just starting out, is slap on any artifact set that you have. Now, there's an artifact set that you'll have to forgive me, I don't have any bad artifacts anymore. So yeah, I think you'll have the Berserker or the Blood-Soaked kind of artifact set that you can just quickly slap on your character. Again, if you just take a quick glance at your character's artifacts and you see something like increases crit damage, or increases your base damage, or increases your elemental mastery. We'll talk about that in a minute, but all of that, just slap whatever you think would work. Again, on your main DPS, try to get him a lot of crit rate, crit damage, attack percentage, all that kind of stuff. And just, again, for the beginning part of the game, you can just slap on whatever you want. We'll get into the main stats that you're going to be after in a minute, but we're just trying to talk about how you just generally progress in terms of your character and just increase your damage, which can get you by for most of the game. Cool. Now, let's talk about the other thing that is incredibly crucial to you actually growing in strength and actually killing things. We're going to be talking about talents. Talents are incredible, and if you don't know this, you can actually level up your talents. So this is your main attack, your basic attack. When you hit O or whatever, when you click, it's going to be your basic attack. This is going to be your E, this is going to be your alt. Every single time you level these up, they're going to deal more and more damage. Skill damage is increased to 269%. Pretty bad, massive, huge. Do that. So level these up the best you can. Now, this is gated by your character's level. So you're going to be able to do this a couple times, but you're also going to need to make sure you're leveling up your base character in order to keep leveling up their base attacks. Cool. Now, you're probably not going to get into this for a while, but eventually it's going to require you to actually spend pretty good amount of stuff, which is, so this is level 9, so then it's going to start asking you for greater experience books. Again, how do I get access to that book? Click the item detail, and it will tell you that there's a domain that's available every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday that you can go and spend your resin in that, so if you can level up your character. And again, I would highly, highly, highly advise leveling up your talents. This is one of the things that's always going to be amazing. Artifacts, especially when you're just starting out, are going to come and go like you would not believe. So these are always going to be important. So this is always damage, a progression that's not going to go away. So level up your talents and just kind of throw on your artifacts, especially when you're just starting out. Not only that, but eventually as you progress, you are going to get access to world bosses. It's kind of in the progression segment, but yeah, it's going to be a ways till you get that. But anyways, when you finally get access to killing world bosses, that's going to help you level up your talents, I think beyond 6. That's when it starts asking you for those things. Regardless, so that's the third way that you can increase your character's damage. Now, the last thing that we're going to talk about is this, your weapon. Now, you may think, oh, okay, my weapon's okay, it kind of matters. Your weapon really matters, specifically the base attack stat on your weapon. Now, physical damage, whatever comes below that, HP, what's this one? Attack percent. We're not going to get into that number, but the very top of your weapon, it says base damage. The reason why that's relevant is because it's how you're going to be dealing good damage. Every one of your talents, your E, your alt, your whatever, your basic attack, everything scales off of your character's base attack. So, if you want your main E's and all that stuff to be dealing good damage, you're going to want to level up your weapon. And again, you could have the most maxed out talent on the planet, and it doesn't really matter if your weapon itself's base attack isn't getting multiplied that much by the multiplier. So just remember to try to level up your weapon. Don't forget on this. Don't sleep on this. Now, if you're free to play and you're just getting into the game, you probably don't have access to a lot of weapons. We'll talk about that in a minute, but that is essentially, on a base level, how you increase your power within Genshin. You got your leveling up, generally speaking, you got your leveling up your weapons, and making sure your base attack is as high as possible. You got your artifacts, which can be huge, which we're going to go into in a little bit, and we got your talents, which is just sustained damage, and that's great. Now, with the nightmare that is resin and trying to balance out what you want to spend things on, again, this is why most of the community has, especially when they're starting out, a singular DPS. That way you can focus all of your materials on the guy that's going to be on the field the most and dealing the most damage. So yeah. Now, let's get into how your team should generally be synergized. And then we're going to be talking about how you probably are going to go about getting more characters. But we'll get that into like the later bonus stuff, that like advice that I would give up from a person that's maxed out on everything in Genshin and has only spent a good handful of dollars to get all of the stuff that you see, which is like, I think I got like 7 or I'm not sure how many, but I think it's like 7 legendary characters or 5-star characters, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But anyways, okay, so how you build a team is, again, having whoever you think is a decent DPS, and again, this matters a little bit when you're just starting out, but eventually you're going to want to look into, okay, what does this character I have do? Okay, it sounds like he kind of just adds but doesn't do, and then you'll see a character like Razor who you're like, oh, this character just does. This character puts out damage constantly. Every one of his skills functions around dealing damage. He swings a sword, the numbers look like they're pretty high, okay. His E basically hits hard and it has a low cooldown, so I can constantly apply it. And his ult is basically just a general massive power spike, and then he can deal a shit ton of damage in that power spike. Seems like a main DPS. He is. And he has fun things like decreasing your stamina consumption so you can traverse the world more. Now, again, Razor is attained by many different ways, which we'll get into. But Point being, how do you build your team? So you have your main DPS. Now, how do you build your main DPS's artifacts? We're already kind of pinched for time, so I'm going to try to summarize this in a big way. One of the things for almost every main DPS is critical rate and critical damage. You're going to want to try, and this is going to be hard to do when you're first starting out, which is why I think, just aim for a little bit and not a lot. But critical rate and critical damage are something that every main DPS can fall in love with and is incredibly good. Now, there's usually another common denominator, which is usually whatever the character does in terms of their base damage. So are they very elemental? Okay. Are they a fire character? Okay, so then giving them something that gives them fire bonus damage will be beneficial. Are they a physical damage dealer? Yes. Okay, so then we should give them some sort of artifact that gives them physical damage. Now let's get into the minutiae of every weird thing. So when it comes to your artifacts, again, these two don't really matter. These ones you're mainly after your set bonus and also your passive modifiers, which is those things. So I have 7% crit rate. So every single time you level up your artifact or enhance it by taking crappy artifacts and burning them into that, and how you get those artifacts is by opening chests, doing domains, burning your resin on those said things. Yeah, these two don't matter as much. This is your HP and your attack. It's not that they don't matter, it's just that they're not unique. They're always going to be attack. This is always going to give you attack with various degrees of side buffs, which is what you're going to be looking at when you're getting these artifacts. And this is always going to be HP with varying degrees of its substats. And of course, it's set bonus, which is the Pale Flame set bonus. Regardless, these are the ones where it starts mattering. For your main DPS, the hourglass icon, you're probably going to want attack percentage. Unless they're really, really unique, but more or less every DPS can benefit from just getting your base attack percentage higher, unless they specifically scale off something like HP or defense, which is rare for a main DPS to do that. So always you can get by with attack percentage. Now, for this one, your goblet, your drink, your cup, whatever, try to put, for your main DPS, the modifier that is going to benefit them. So again, for Eula, she scales off of physical damage, so I have her on a physical damage cup. If I was playing Hu Tao, or if I was playing Kaya, for instance, Kaya is one of the characters you're going to get from the get-go, he scales off of cryo damage. So I would find a cryo goblet, and I might not have one. This is one of those things where if you don't have anything, when you're just starting out, if he's a main DPS, maybe throwing attack percentage would get me over the hill so that I can start farming for actually good artifacts, which I can do when I reach AR 45. So you're just trying to get to that point where you can kind of deal enough damage to where you can kind of start cracking the tank, essentially. Regardless, and then the last one is critical rate or critical damage are fantastic. Again, if you have none of if you're just starting out the game and you have none of those, go with attack percent for your main DPS. And just to quickly cover the supports, it's just the opposite of what we just talked about. If you have a character that gives you a shield and the shield scales off HP, pick for these last three, the watch, the cup, and the crown, HP if it scales off HP, or go with energy recharge if your character has a really strong ult. Then that's going to be one of the things you're going to use. Quickly switch to your other character, use your ult, and then use your E, and then it will start generating particles, and then you can use that constantly if you have enough energy recharge built in. Anyways, yeah, so that's a lot, but that's essentially a quick breakdown of the artifacts. And again, when you're first starting out, you can get by with just throwing artifacts on a character and kind of just working things out and getting by. The good news is that if you would level up an artifact, you can always take that artifact, that crappy artifact, and burn it into another good artifact and level it close to the same level. So you're not really losing much when you're swapping artifacts and etc. But yes, and again, like I said, the supports, it's just the opposite. So instead of doing attack percentages and stuff like that, or crit rates, you're just going for a little bit of crit rate and energy recharge and maybe elemental mastery, but that's a little complicated for people who are just starting out, and you can probably break that down at some point. If you look up a video about explaining elemental mastery, it just basically is how elemental stuff interacts and how it can times 100 your damage if you want to do that. But as you guys probably are aware of, you don't need to times your damage by 100 when you're in the beginner stages of the game. We'll maybe make a video on like the end game. So yes, that was how you progress. Generally speaking, that was also talking about resin and being intrinsically tied with how you progress. That is also how you know, AR is the foundation of what you should be doing. And then how you essentially gain power in this game is by fighting world bosses, which will allow you to level up your characters, which will also allow you to level up your talents. By the way, in order to level up your talents, you're also going to need to get books, which again, just go to the talent thing. It will tell you you're lacking this book. Click the detail. It will tell you when you can do that book, and then just do it with your resin for that day. Again, everything in this game costs resin, so be careful. Now, again, also with progression, almost everybody who plays this game inevitably gets to the point where they want to sprint for a longer period of time, and you're going to need to increase your AR, so you're going to need to go open chests. So you're just going to, why not do them, kill two birds with one stone and not have to do them separately, which is going to take even more time and be kind of frustratingly annoying. Regardless, yeah, and then your weapons and etc. Make sure your weapon is leveled up, because that's what your attack scales off of, so that's super important for you to deal damage. And again, you're going to want to try to funnel all of your power into one DPS, and then when that person's taken care of, then switch to other characters. But alas, here's some questions I'm sure you guys are asking. How do I get Primo Gems to wish on characters? Well, first of all, this is pretty important, and it's kind of beginning game, middle game, etc. How you attain Primo Gems is, of course, by doing daily commissions, by participating in events which are unlocked by your AR rank, so you're going to need to get to a high AR as soon as you possibly can. Most of the game is unlocked by AR 21, so you can participate if you just put a little bit of time in there and you do some story. You can probably get to AR 21 pretty fast. You probably should be okay. Let's talk about the nightmare that is gacha in this game, which is actually less of a nightmare, but still pretty bad in this game than others. I would suggest you guys this. This is just, I'm going to try to be as broad brush as I possibly can and try to explain it as quick as I possibly can as well. Do not ever spend money on this banner, the standard wish. The reason why is because this has an insanely high loot pool, and when you are just starting out, the highest value that you can possibly attain is a character. Again, getting one solid main DPS, whether that's a 4-star main DPS or a 5-star main DPS, that can carry you to the very peaks of this game. Because at the end of the day, you're always going to need to do a lot of damage. You can get by without having a shield with healing or whatever, right? Now, this is called the character event wish. This will go away within a time frame. In fact, it's going away in 33 minutes, hot damn. Regardless, you're going to want to keep your eye, especially if you're a low spender / I don't want to spend any money in this game, and I have not that many Primo Gems. Make sure you know what the 4 stars are. Never wish, especially if you're just starting out, on a banner with a really good 5-star but crap 4 stars, because the likelihood of you getting a ton of the 4 stars and none of the 5-star is very high. Now, like I said, there is something in this game called pity. What that is every single time you make 90 wishes, so every 90 wishes, you are guaranteed a 5-star character. But they kind of fuck you in this way, but they also, other gacha games fuck you harder in this way. But when you get to 90 wishes to get pity, which is hard pity, and essentially what that means is you get a chance between the banner character, which in this case is Eula, or a random 5-star from the event from this banner. So you get it's called a 50-50. So you get a 50% chance to get the banner character, which is probably what you want, or a random 5-star that you maybe don't want, because it's, it could be a healer and you're mainly after a DPS because you're just starting out. Just be careful. But the good news is that say you lose the 50-50, say you're a free-to-play player and you really want a main DPS, which is Eula, and you're like, crap, I lost, I got, let's say, Chi-Chi, a very overpowered in the way of healing support. She's not very strong, but she's good in this. She's crazy at healing. That's not good though, because it has diminishing returns. But say you get Chi-Chi and you're like, oh shit. But maybe you really love the look, the design, the whatever, and maybe the 4 stars are also really good of this banner. You can keep wishing on this. So basically, if you lose a 50-50 and you get all the way back up to pity again, you're guaranteed the banner character, essentially. So you're guaranteed Eula. So if you got Chi-Chi and you're like, shit, but then you wish a bunch again and get to 90 wishes, then you're gonna get Eula, guaranteed. So yeah, and that is exactly why people say never ever wish on the weapon banner, because there's no guarantee. You could get the special new weapon, never. Because there's no pity. There's no like every single time you get to 90, you're guaranteed a legendary or a 5-star, but you're not guaranteed the other one. So you could just keep getting the one that you don't want and spend like $1 trillion and never get one of the other one that you want. So don't do that. It's a good rule of thumb of when you're deep into endgame and you have all the characters you ever could want and they're all leveled up and their talents they're shining and you don't need anything else, then you can basically just waste your primo gems in the weapon banner if you want. And again, you get more damage out of leveling up your talents, getting artifacts, and all that stuff than you could ever get out of weapons, some more or less. Hi ladies and gentlemen, me here in post and or in editing. I did want to clarify one thing. Say you do that thing where you got Chi-Chi when you were wishing on the character banner and you wanted Eula. One of the things you can do is wait. So the next time you wish on the character banner, and maybe, it's not Eula, but the next one, that character you are guaranteed to get the character banner. The one that's on the banner, you are guaranteed to get that 5-star. So it is like a waiting game, so a lot of people will be like, man, I lost the 50-50 and now I'm having to bank up more primo gems, this sucks. But at least you know the next time you wish, you'll guaranteed get the 5-star banner character. So there is a slight silver lining. And there's always a cool character around the corner, so just bide your time. So that answers the question of what is this and how do I go about getting characters? Now, how do you go about generating primo gems? Again, there are things like events over in this tab. There's none going on right now because we're about to enter into a whole another 1.6 patch. Whatever, regardless, doing any of the things in the event wish or in the event overview typically gives you primo gems. Not only that, but opening some specific chests gets you primo gems. Basically, they keep drip feeding you primo gems. And now we're going to talk about, okay, what kind of person are you going to be in Genshin? I would highly advise you're not a whale / a high spender, because the difference between being efficient and effective and being gluttonous and destructive is super big. It is really cheap to get by in this game. It is really easy to spend a fuck ton as well. Let's talk about it. So first things first, let's talk about what I think every single person who is even considering spending or eventually wishing in this game. So if you are ever considering like, okay, maybe if I play this game for like 60 hours and I get my money's worth out of it and it's free, then maybe then I'll wish. And I'll drop like $50 on the game, right? Just to give back to the developers who made a game I like. Do not do that. You can support the game, but I would highly advise, if you have that thought of like, yeah, I'm enjoying my experience, I would like to give back to the game. Buy the Welkin Moon, and if you want, buy the Battle Pass if you've completed the Battle Pass in that month. The reason why is because you get way more out of, you basically spend, I think it's $4 US, $7 Canadian, fuck inflation, regardless. Yeah, you basically spend, this is way more efficient. And again, when you're just starting out, you're going to be logging in every day to do your dailies so that you can increase or progress your AR rank. So this is incredibly valuable. If you have any of the idea of, okay, I might spend money in this game, spend $4 and then that's it. Again, I would rather you spend $4 every month and just profit than spend what essentially happened to me, which is I had the same thought process. If I was like, okay, I want to spend money in this game because I've played so much of it, I've had such a good time about it, I don't want to just be a leech. Let's give back to the developers. And then I had a misconception as well. Essentially, these Genesis crystals are a 1-to-1 comparison for the primo gems. So the same amount of geocrystals is the same as the primo gems that you have, the identical same, okay? That's rough. That's really not great. Not only that, but you need around, what is it? In order to get to 90 wishes, I believe you need something like 14,000 primo gems. So if I was to spend $70, I would only get 3,000. It requires 14,000, 14.000 amount of primo gems, and for $80 or $70, I'm only getting a quarter of that. Don't do that. But if you were to spend $4 on the Welkin Moon, or $7, you're going to be getting 270 primo gems and 300 thing. Now, the only catch is that you're going to have to sign in every day. Think of this as like a book card or like a free coffee stamp card. Every single time you log in, you get the card stamped. If you don't log in a day, you don't get the card stamped, but you also don't get the Primo Gems attained, but you still can get the Primo Gems. It's just like your card didn't get stamped for that day, right? So yeah, and if you want, especially when you're just starting out, you can also buy something called the Battle Pass, which is not available right now because I can't show it to you. It's right there. It's supposed to be right here, but I don't have access to it. But essentially, but just by doing tasks, doing your dailies, doing certain things in the world, you'll gain progression just like any battle pass. But you can get the better battle pass, which will give you wishes and Primo Gems, and it's $14. So, in combination, if you were to spend money on the Welkin Moon and the battle pass every now and again, not every month, but every now and again, and you did all the event wishes, you'll gain a shit ton of Primo Gems. And that's essentially how the game is kind of set up, in my opinion. How Genshin is set up, this is the overarching kind of end game thing. It is set up as if you do all of the Primo Gem, if you do all of the events, and you do your dailies consistently, and you skip a banner, and then you spend on a banner, and you skip a banner, and you spend on a banner, you'll be able to accrue a great deal of 5 stars. But that's typically how it goes. The price of being a low spender is the fact that you have to skip one banner. And banners are up for, I think it's like 20 or some weird 20 or 30 days. So you just got to go 20 or 30 days with leveling up your existing characters, which is probably better. And also investing in like talent books and Ascension Materials to level up the characters that you want, etc. But yes, that would be my crucial advice, and that's how the game is set up, and that's how I've been able to get as many 5-star characters as I have. And at this point, I think I have, I only don't have a handful of characters. But I have a ton of 5-star characters and even more constellations for some really, really good characters. Again, there are some like GOAT level amazing characters, and I'm almost maxed out on a lot of their constellation because I've waited for a banner or a wish banner that had a lot of the 4 stars that I want, aka Shincho, who's fantastic, and a main 5-star that I would like to get out of consequence of wishing on the banner and maybe getting lucky. And yeah, also one thing I didn't mention about the wishing system is when you get to 60 wishes, start doing single pulls. And how you can tell you've only got to 60 or how many wishes you've done is this right here. You can just go back and like hit over and just count these until you get up to the last time you got a 5-star, which resets, by the way. So if I got Elu, it resets my pity all the way down to 1. So I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 pity. Which is not that much. But the reason why you start doing single wishes when you get to 60 wishes is because you are entering into what is called pity. Now, hard pity is 90, but when you start getting into past 60, you're starting getting higher and higher chances. So instead of just dropping 10, you should start dropping 1, and basically it adds up to being better for you. Just basically when you get to 60 wishes, just start doing single pulls until you get a 5-star and call it good. But yes, again, do not, I cannot stress that enough, do not spend money for the Genesis crystals. It is so bad in terms of your value. The value gained by that is so shitty. It is so much better off just buying $4 a month. Spending $4 instead of spending $60 at once, spend an eighth of that, and you'll get so much more out of it. And as long as you're doing the events and doing your dailies, and you're skipping a banner and then spending on a banner and then skipping a banner, you're gonna have an abundance of Primo Gems. And you're gonna also, again, sometimes they'll release a character banner or like the wish card, and it'll be shit. It'll be like they'll have one good 5-star, but all the 4 stars will be shitty. Skip it. If you skip 2, you'll have double the amount to spend on the next banner, and maybe even spend the abundance of Primo Gems that you have on the weapon banner. And then you can massively amplify your character's damage. And again, I would just highly advise, even if you want to be a whale, it's just so much more efficient to just go the Welkin Moon and the Battle Pass route, or just go no route. You'll have to skip probably not just 1 banner, but 2 banners, but then the 3rd banner, you'll be able to spend and get the 5-star that you want and start making huge progression in your progression. One more thing, I would kick myself if I didn't do this. Some amazing characters that if you happen to get from the wishes that are fantastic in terms of main DPSs, at least in my opinion, that will take you to the ends of the deepest ends of the game is Yenfi. Yenfi is just a solid, fantastic DPS that's incredibly easy to progress with, and to like her domain is pretty easily accessed as well. She's fantastic for being a main DPS. Again, Razor is fantastic at being a DPS. Kaya, who you start the game with, if you unlock a special domain within Dragonspine, can be amazing as a DPS. Ninwong is okay if you have enough Constellation. And yeah, and then there, again, people are going to be like, but Grin, there's so many other characters. There's like Bennett and stuff. Yeah, but you have to work at making them a DPS. Razor, kind of just a DPS by default. Kaya, kind of just a DPS-ish / support by default. Same thing with Yenfi. Yenfi is just a pure DPS at default. And of course, as of 5 stars, most 5 stars can deal a good bit of damage and also happen to be very good at support. Diluc is one of the best. Eula is one of the best. Hu Tao is a fantastic option too. Ganyu is the best character in the game. And as of great support characters, especially when you're just starting out, if you happen to get Bennett or Shincho when you're just starting out, they are so good. Some of the best supports in the game is Shincho, Fischl, or Bennett. And of course, who's the other one that I missed? Oh, and Sucrose. Well, Sucrose needs Constellation. Diona. Diona is also fantastic in terms of being just an amazing support. But also Sucrose is good. It's just, yeah, I think you have to get her like a good Veritas Veneer set and all that stuff, and that's something that if you're just starting the game, probably going to be a little bit hard to do, especially if you haven't leveled up your character that much. But yeah, and alas, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what I can do to cut that out, but that is my beginner's guide / how you get into Genshin Impact. Everything that I wish I would have known, especially in like the base idea of how you progress within the game, which again is very much just, if you're just starting out, do as many side quests and main story missions as you can until you get to the point in which you'll reach AR 12, and then you're kind of in a nice place, because then you can start just making sure you do your daily commissions every day, getting Primo Gems consistently, getting AR consistently. Now, there are things that you can look up, such as artifact farming, so that you can level up your artifacts so you can increase your damage, rock farming so that you can level up your weapons that you're getting, and everything else, and all that stuff. And again, I just want to let you guys know about the whole how you progress in terms of damage, which is talents, weapons, leveling up your characters, and artifacts. That's a huge way you can do it. And then team composition, again, how you kind of should build your team, funnel all of your resources into the character that you know is going to deal a lot of damage, and maybe consider doing a little bit of research of what character that is. Everyone has Kaya at the start, and yeah. Also, one thing I wanted to add, there's always more to add, when you're just starting out, I think it is incredibly beneficial for you to hold on to your Primo Gems, at least until there is a banner, a character banner, that has the 4-star characters that are mostly DPSs. So, there's a banner potentially coming out pretty soon here, I think it's Kazuha's, potentially, that's going to have Razor, Rosaria, and I believe Shincho or something on it. Basically, all very viable DPSs. So, yeah, I would highly suggest waiting to spend your Primo Gems, especially when you're just starting out, until you get access to a banner where you know you can get a guaranteed DPS that can hold your hand through the rest of the content. And then as soon as you get your main DPS, I would suggest holding off, because again, when you're just starting out in this game, I know you want those characters. I know you want to jump in and play with these cool things. But right now, you have your Animoculuses to collect, you have your chests to open, you have your side quests to do. You don't need characters that are going to crush things just yet. I know it's going to be hard, but just hold out for hope. Or buy the Welkin Moon and then be a little bit of a glutton, $4 a week if you want. And again, you can do that and then stop doing the Welkin Moon and then finally start doing it again when you see a character that you may be interested in, etc. But ladies and gentlemen, that is essentially everything that I have. We cover Genshin on the channel a great deal. So yes, there's content of us covering every single new update. Whenever there's new events, we go ahead and talk about them. Whenever there's a new banner, we talk about what's best in terms of if a new person is getting into the game. Is this a banner worth wishing on? This one right now, not really. No, Shincho and Eula is good, but Rockagirl and Baido are kind of supports, and okay supports at that. They can be good, but whatever. That's the thing in Genshin, man. Everyone loves their characters, so you gotta be careful. But regardless, yeah, we do that on the channel. We cover the game extensively. Hopefully this helped in some way. Also, characters love to talk in this game. My God. Regardless, hopefully that helped. Hopefully that answered all the questions of the stages of progression that you'll find yourself in Genshin. And again, don't spend money on the Genesis crystals. It's a fucking nightmare. Don't. Just buy the Welkin Moon for fucking $4. Or don't at all. Just, again, do the events, do your dailies, get by. Also, do the Spiral Abyss whenever you can, but that's kind of end game stuff. Ask me if you want. Let me know if you want me to make a video on the end game activities. So this is kind of like for just starting Genshin to being in the midpoint of Genshin and wanting to develop strength, and also where the hell Primo Gems and Resin fits into all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you guys do enjoy the rest of your day. Let me know if you want that video about endgame. Thank you kindly, and goodbye.